It's so good to see you. This is Avery After Dark, and I'm your host, Avery Ross. I came across one of the creepiest, most bizarre stories the other day. Just trust me, things are about to get really eerie. There is something wrong with my husband. This is very difficult to put into words. It's all so haunting and strange. It started with his eyes. At first, I thought it was just exhaustion. Long hours at work. Jason muttered dismissively when I asked him why his gaze seemed off. They were still his eyes, hazel and warm, but something about the way they focused felt wrong, like they were searching for something invisible, something I couldn't see. You are imagining things, Jason laughed when I brought it up again later in the evening. His laughter felt mechanical, though. The sound was right, but the rhythm was off. It echoed in the room, hollow. Then came the way he moved, subtle at first, like an uncomfortable pause between my words and his reactions, like a delayed video stream. His hugs lingered too long, the pressure awkward and uneven, like he didn't quite remember how human touch worked. "Are you okay?" I asked one night as we lay in bed. He turned to me, his face serene, but his eyes sharp. "Of course," he said, the words too perfect, too rehearsed. "Why wouldn't I be?" A chill rippled down my spine as the words left his mouth. There's something wrong with him. I believe it has something to do with the house. My husband is a general contractor. He recently took a job on a historic house on the other side of town, called the McDowell Mansion. Built in the 1850s, rumors have always swirled that the house is cursed and haunted. Everyone who lived there would go insane. Talk of spirits, dark entities, some kind of portal to the other side. I remember hearing all about it as a young girl growing up here. You were told to avoid the house altogether. There always seems to be at least one older home that has that reputation in every town, right? Recently, it was purchased by a wealthy couple who wanted to renovate the place before they moved in. They lived out of state, and they hired my husband to update the house to their liking before moving in. Top to bottom, new kitchen, new bathrooms, updating everything. It's a big job. It truly is an estate. 6 bedrooms, sits on 4 acres of land. It is quite the job to land. And when my husband first learned he'd got the job, he was thrilled. I told him, watch out, it's supposedly haunted. He laughed at me and said, for this kind of money, I can handle a few ghosts. This was going to be his biggest gig yet, but after the first couple of days of work, he mentioned that the house did have a strange feeling to it. Jason isn't the type to believe in ghosts, things that go bump in the night, but he said he always felt as if someone was watching him there. He said he didn't like being there alone, and given the rumors, some of the guys he had working for him turned down the job. One of his guys, Pete, told him, "No way, man. That house is bad news." "It's great pay, are you serious?" Jason replied. Pete said no. Something happens to the people in that house. This really surprised Jason, as Pete wasn't the type to be afraid of anything. Jason began doing a lot of work there himself, going in nearly every morning around 6 a.m. and coming home around 7 p.m. Long days. About 2 weeks into it, he began acting withdrawn, quieter than usual. But now his demeanor has completely changed. He seems different. He looks the same, speaks the same, but something is just off about him. This morning I woke up to find him standing in our bathroom, staring at himself in the mirror, smiling. "What are you doing?" I called in from the bedroom, watching his face through the mirror. "Are you all right?" I asked. "Yes," he said, grinning, meeting my eyes in the mirror. I began trying to converse with the man that looked exactly like my husband, but wasn't. "So, are you going into work today?" I asked. I checked the clock. It was 8:12 a.m. Jason would typically already be gone by now. "Maybe," he said, with a strange, high-pitched giggle I had never heard in the 8 years I had known him. This was getting stranger by the second. I went into the kitchen, leaving him staring at himself in the mirror, and began to research, looking on the internet for information about what was going on. I found a discussion forum titled, "When the person you love isn't quite themselves anymore." It read, "The uncanny valley is an eerie and unsettling feeling that some people experience in response to not quite human figures." I quickly scrolled through the comments, heart pounding. They described loved ones acting strange, voices just a little too monotone, movements slightly jerky, expressions almost but not entirely human. One comment read, "It's like they're being replaced by something that knows what a human is supposed to be, but not how to be one." Other terms popped up in the thread, like doppelganger, defined as a ghostly double of a living person, especially one that haunts its own fleshly counterpart. And a mimic, an elusive, mysterious copycat ghost that mirrors traits and behaviors from others. It felt like Jason was a combination of all three. Is that even possible? "What are you doing?" a voice behind me said. I slammed my laptop shut and spun around. Jason, or whatever he was, had snuck up behind me. "Oh, nothing," I said, nervously. "I'll be back later," he said. He slowly turned, grabbed his keys, and left the house. Something was impersonating him. Something very dark. That evening, I couldn't shake the dread. I studied him as he poured a glass of wine. The way his fingers wrapped around the stem of the glass, just a bit too rigid, too precise. "Are you staring at me?" he asked, tilting his head in a way that made my stomach churn. "No," I stammered. He smiled, but the expression didn't reach his eyes. "You're acting strange," he said softly, almost teasing. That night, I couldn't sleep, knowing this thing was laying next to me. At a few points in the night, I'd wake to find him watching me. His face, perfectly neutral. His breathing was slow and measured, like someone pretending to sleep, but not quite getting it right. The next morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I told him I needed space and left for my sister's house. But the quiet there was worse. I told her about what was going on, and she looked at me like I was insane. The longer I stayed there, the more I began to doubt myself. I tried to convince myself I was overreacting. Stress was making me paranoid. When I came back 2 days later, the house was unnervingly spotless. He was waiting for me at the dinner table, his hands folded neatly. "Welcome home," he said. His voice sounded perfect, too perfect, like he had practiced it for hours. That's when I noticed his face. It wasn't wrong, but it wasn't quite right either. His skin was smooth, but lacked texture. His smile didn't quite match the movement of his eyes. I stepped closer, heart racing. "What's going on with you?" I whispered. "I've never been better," he replied, tilting his head again. That's when I saw it, a flicker of something underneath his skin, a brief shimmer like static on a screen. "What are you? Where is Jason?" I choked out. He didn't answer. He just smiled, a smile that was no longer his. I didn't sleep that night. I locked the bedroom door and sat on the floor, unsure of what to do. Every so often, I'd hear footsteps outside the door, pacing. The next morning, the house was silent again. Too silent. I decided to leave. At a hotel hours away, I opened my laptop and searched for the forum I'd seen. The thread had grown. More people were posting, sharing eerily similar stories. Partners, friends, family members, all changing in subtle and disturbing ways. Some attributing the phenomenon to something paranormal, supernatural, some kind of darker entity taking over their body. And then I saw a new post titled, "They're learning," and the replies were chilling. One person wrote, "They adapt when we notice. They get better at blending in. Don't confront them. It makes them angry. This has to have something to do with the house." I began to research more about the McDowell mansion, the home Jason had been working on. Of course, the house was much older, so there wasn't a ton of information, except a few news articles. But there was one from the mid-90s that caught my eye. It was their Halloween edition, and given the rumors about the old McDowell mansion, they did an article on the place. In it, they interviewed past residents, a gardener who worked on the property in the 80s, and a housekeeper who was employed there in the late 60s, named Josephine Hilbrandt. Something she said stuck out to me. It was clear from the article she believed there was a dark entity within the home. She said it had the ability and power to impersonate the living. In the article, she said, "On one occasion, I was working in the kitchen when the lady of the house, Miss Landry, walked in and stared at me with sickening eyes and a wide smile. I said to her, 'Do you need something, miss?' She shook her head no and slowly backed out of the room, wearing that unnatural smile the entire time." Josephine told the reporter that she found out Miss Landry wasn't even home that afternoon, and she believed the dark entity in the home was impersonating her. Josephine said this happened 3 more times in the years she worked there. Each time, the dark presence got better at impersonating Miss Landry. That was until Miss Landry was found deceased at the base of the stairs one April morning. No one is quite sure what happened to her, how she died. But Josephine was certain the entity in the home had something to do with it. And how she described it, how the person will look the same, just a bit off, and that haunting smile. This was exactly what was happening with Jason. I fell asleep that night, unsure of what to do. If I go to police, they are sure to think I'm off my rocker. I'm thinking I need to reach out to my church for help. I thought I'd escaped, but now I'm not so sure. Last night, I heard footsteps outside my hotel room. This morning, the clerk at the front desk said a man came in asking for me. I have dozens of calls and texts from him asking, "Can we talk?" But I know better. That is not my husband. Not anymore. Is it possible that all the rumors about the McDowell mansion are true? That the house is cursed, haunted by something powerful, some kind of spirit that can impersonate those who spend time in the home? It's like something has taken over Jason's body. It's like he's possessed. What do I do? What can I do? Is this some sort of uncanny valley nightmare? A doppelganger? Mimic? Or something else entirely? Do I avoid him or go home and pretend that everything is okay? That one post said not to anger it. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this episode and want more, make sure you subscribe to this channel, give this video a like, and turn on post notifications. Next episode, I've got so much more mystery coming your way. Until then, check out these videos. You could pick that one. Very spooky. Or that one. very eerie. Both great choices.